We are allowed, when dealing with the square root of a fraction, to take the square root of the numerator and divide it by the square root of the denominator. This helps us think of the square root of the numerator as being positive 4 and the square root of the denominator as being positive 9, and we have the opposite that was originally out front. So negative 4/9 is the answer. The main idea here is that I would like you to understand that squaring, so starting with this negative 4b and squaring that, and then taking the square root of the answer, those kind of undo each other. So I want you to be thinking that the answer is probably this. That's not quite correct, but it's close. Squaring and square rooting almost undo each other. In fact, the correct answer is the absolute value of negative 4b, which equals the absolute value of negative 4 times the absolute value of b, which is 4 times the absolute value of b. Why? Well, I tried to explain that earlier, but I'll try one more time. You see, if you take a positive number and square it, and then take the square root, you do get the number itself. 7 squared is 49, the positive square root of 49 is 7. But if you take a negative number and square it, and then take the square root, you get the positive number. Why is that? Well, let's do it. This is negative 3 times itself, which is 9, and the square root of positive 9 is positive 3. And so you see, when it's a negative thing that you're squaring, you get a positive result. And a way to describe a positive result is with absolute value signs. So if on an exam you were given this question and you wrote this, you'd probably get like half credit because you sort of have the right idea, but it's not exactly correct. So what's the square root of a to the 22nd power? Well, some people get confused because they think, well, 22 is not a perfect square. It's not something times itself, but that really doesn't matter too much. So let's do this problem twice like we did the last problem twice. The main idea is this. What can you multiply by itself that will give you a to the 22nd? Well, it's got to have a base of a, and it looks like 11 of them times 11 of them. Because when you multiply things that have like bases, don't you add exponents? So it would seem like a to the 11th is the correct answer, but it's not quite the correct answer because technically, what if a is negative? Technically, you need absolute value signs around this. Or I suppose you could put the absolute value signs around the a and leave the 11th outside. So one of these two is best, but writing a to the 11th is going to give you half credit because you know sort of what you're doing, you just don't know exactly. So we have an opposite sign, and the cube root of a product can be broken up into the cube roots of each of the factors. So we have the cube root of 125 times the cube root of y to the third. Now, cube roots never need absolute value signs. That's a square root thing. In general, even roots need square roots and odd roots don't. So we have a minus sign. What times itself 3 times gives you negative 125? And the answer is negative 5 times itself 3 times. So this cube root is negative 5. What times itself 3 times equals y cubed? Well, the answer is y times itself 3 times. So this cube root's y. And we don't need an absolute value, so the opposite of negative 5 is 5. And we're getting 5y is what this original thing equals, 5y.